Picture a Greek salad. Tomatoes, cucumbers, that white, salty cheese. Now here's the problem. An actual ancient Greek never saw a tomato in his entire life. No tomatoes, no potatoes, no lemons, no sugar, rice, or pasta. Basically, everything on a Greek restaurant menu didn't exist yet. So what did they eat? Well, wine for breakfast, bugs for snacks, a soup so terrifying it made other Greeks glad to die, and one seasoning so delicious they ate it off the face of the earth, forever. This is what ancient Greeks actually ate. And it gets weird immediately. Morning in Athens, around 400 BC. Our guy wakes up and breakfast is bread dunked in wine. Not toast, not eggs. Yesterday's barley bread soaked in pure, unmixed wine, so it's soft enough to chew. They even called breakfast akratismos, the unmixed thing, because this was the one time of day when drinking wine straight was socially acceptable. Add a couple of figs, a handful of olives. That's it. And notice, barley, not wheat. Wheat bread was the fancy stuff for feast days. Everyday Greeks ran on barley, flatbreads, porridge, and dense little barley cakes called maza. Here's the thing, though. Bread wasn't the side dish. Bread was the meal. Everything else, cheese, olives, onions, fish, had its own separate word, opson, the topping, the flavor, the reason to keep eating bread. But the truly weird part isn't what was on the table, it's what was missing from it. Something you've used every single day of your life. Forks. There were no forks. Not rare. They did not exist as eating tools. You ate with your fingers. A spoon for soup, if you're lucky. And bread for everything else. Bread was the fork. Bread was the napkin. There was even a special soft piece of bread called apomagdalia. You wiped the grease off your fingers with it, and then threw it to the dogs. Yes, the dog under the table was an official part of the dining system. Plates? Often just more bread. Flat, stale, edible plates. 0 dishes to wash. Honestly, kind of genius. But if that sounds strange, wait until you hear about meat. Because in ancient Greece, you couldn't just go eat a steak. Meat was rare. And weirder than that, meat was religious. For an ordinary Greek, pretty much the only time you ate meat was at a sacrifice. An animal was offered to the gods. And here's the deal they made. The gods received the smoke, and the bones wrapped in fat, and the humans got everything else. That trick goes all the way back to the myth of Prometheus, who fooled Zeus with exactly this trade. So a sacrifice was basically a religious barbecue. The gods get the smell, you get the ribs. Everybody wins. Which means the real everyday obsession wasn't meat at all. It was fish. Greeks were fish maniacs. Fresh fish was the luxury food, the caviar of the ancient world. Eels from Lake Kopais were so famous that comedy writers joked about them like celebrities. And being too into fish was an actual character flaw. They had a word for it. Opsophagos. A fish fiend. The guy who sprints to the market the second it opens. Philosophers wrote entire passages about these people, disapprovingly. And for a snack between meals, oh, you're not ready for the snacks. Cicadas. They ate cicadas. And that's not a rumor. Aristotle himself wrote it down, and even noted which stage of a cicada's life tastes best. The greatest philosopher alive, reviewing bugs. Grasshoppers, too, roasted, a classic cheap snack. Plus acorns, chickpeas, dried figs, and lupin seeds, the ancient version of bar peanuts. And for anything sweet, honey. That's it. Sugar didn't exist. Every dessert in the ancient world, every sweet thing anyone had ever tasted, was honey, fruit, or both. Now, the sun goes down. Because dinner in ancient Greece wasn't a meal. Dinner was an event. A proper Greek evening had two parts. Part 1, the deipnon, the actual eating. You don't sit, you recline on a couch, propped on your left elbow, eating with your right hand. Sitting at dinner? That was for children. Part 2, the symposium, literally drinking together. Tables cleared, wine comes out, and this is where Greek culture actually happened. Poetry, philosophy, politics, terrible singing. But the wine had rules. You never, ever drank it straight. Wine was mixed with water in a giant bowl called a crater. The usual mix? About 3 parts water to 1 part wine. Drinking it unmixed was for barbarians. The Greeks literally called that drinking Scythian style. One guest was elected the symposiarch, the master of drinking, just to decide how strong tonight's mix would be. And once the party warmed up, they played kottabos. You keep the last drops of wine in your cup, take aim, and fling them at a bronze target across the room. Wine darts. People took it seriously. There were prizes. Meanwhile, one Greek city looked at all of this, the couches, the wine games, the eel worship, and said, absolutely not. Sparta. While Athens argued about fish, Sparta perfected the most feared soup in history, the melas zomos, the black broth. The recipe? Pork, boiled in its own blood, with vinegar and salt. That's the whole dish. Every Spartan man ate it at a mandatory public mess hall. Same tables, same broth, kings included. Other Greeks were horrified. There's a famous story about a visitor from Sybaris, the ancient capital of luxury, who finally tasted the black broth and said, "Now I understand why Spartans do not fear death." The Spartans took that as a compliment. And then there's the mystery, the greatest flavor of the ancient world, and you will never, ever taste it. Silphium, a plant from Cyrene, a Greek colony in North Africa. Seasoning, medicine, miracle crop, they put it on everything, and the city was so proud of it they stamped it on their coins. But silphium had a catch. It refused to be farmed. It only grew wild in one narrow strip of land. Demand exploded. The Romans later valued it, by one ancient account, at its literal weight in silver. And then, it was gone. Eaten, grazed, and harvested out of existence, possibly the first food humans ever drove extinct. According to Pliny the Elder, the last known stock was found and sent to the Emperor Nero, who, presumably, ate it. So, wine for breakfast, bread for a fork, bugs for snacks, blood soup in Sparta, and a flavor so good we deleted it from the planet. And the best part? 2,500 years later, we named a salad after these people, made of vegetables they never saw. If you want to know what ancient people actually did, at the table or at 3 in the morning, you're in the right place. See you in the next one.